Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm abruptly late this morning, but I'm here to share about grief relief. This was put on my heart last week to talk to you about this, everyone. This is heavy that's going on in our life. We see so much rest in peace these days, everybody, that it triggers so many different emotions and different feelings that goes on with everybody. So this topic this week is reflecting about pain. And a lot of us see so much pain and so much hurt go on every single day. We hear about it in our communities, we hear about it in our society, we hear about it in our own family. And we see it so much more now than ever. We look at trauma, the same factor. We continue to look at everything over and over again. We would play these images in our minds about things, and we have to do a self evaluation on ourselves. And what that means is we really have to work on ourselves to balance this thing out. Sadness is so high these days. People are really dealing with so much sadness and so much hurt inside of them, and they begin to really look at things and start questioning things and start questioning themselves. And that's the irony of what we are at today. And we're wondering, we're asking ourselves questions and answers and things of that sort of what we can do and how to balance these things out. And when we speak about these topics, we're sharing our emotions and feelings, ladies and gentlemen. And when we share our emotions and feelings, we begin to really take considerations of the things that are at hands. Grief is an ongoing thing in anybody's life these days. And when we look at the scenario of everything that's going on at hand, we begin to really realize that we have a process that we have to go through. We have to go through the pain, we have to go with dealing with a significant amount of trauma, sadness, and wondering behind the factor. And when we look at this overall, we begin to really shed some light on what we should do and how we should handle it. A lot of times we get to a place of complacency that we just get stuck in that place in our life. And when we get stuck in that place in our life, we don't want to push forward, we just want to go back. And what we have to remind ourselves every day is to be gentle and kind to ourselves. And being gentle and kind to ourselves helps us bring clarity, help us to bring closure, help us to bring understanding. In this segment here, everybody, these are step-by-step guidelines to help you. And these are going to help you understand the formality in the direction of where you're going. And that formality starts with you really being honest with yourself. In the comment section below, many of us deal with pain all the time. A lot of us deal with trauma. A lot of us deal with sadness. A lot of us deal with wondering. And that wondering factor is a continual thing that goes on all the time. Now, I've experienced it, of course I have. So I take my pain and turn it into a purpose. And that purpose is when I begin to really understand that when these things start to unravel bit by bit, you start to go back and reflect on these things, ladies and gentlemen. What triggers your pain? What triggers the trauma? What triggers your sadness? And why is your mind always racing and wondering? Because you're reliving and recording the events that has happened in your life. And you start questioning yourself. And you definitely start doubting yourself because You asking that it's your fault. Could I did better? Could I have improved? And all those different factors just come to your mind. And when we look at the word grief, many people will be like, oh, okay, somebody had passed on, but grief goes deeper than that. And once we go the formality of losing our loved ones or a best friend or a spouse or even a child, once we go through the process of preparing and getting everything together, once our loved ones are put in the ground, we're still left with the pain and the hurt and the agony through that. And we still live through that through anniversaries. We still live through that through birthdays. We still live through that through holidays. And even every day, it may be a song that's being played. There may be a favorite movie, or the wind may blow, or a certain fragrance, or a certain TV show, or a certain snack, or even a certain meal that was prepared. It reminds you of them. And that reminds you that they continue to really deal with these things over and over again. And when I share with you that it's hard, it's hard. We have prolonging grief, we have complicated grief. And complicated grief is when you are so close and dear to someone that you love so very much that it's hard for you to really break that because your heart was filled with love. Grief is love, ladies and gentlemen. And many people are starting to feel this heaviness in the month of July. And that heaviness is so much happening. What I begin to notice is that people are hurting. July is like pretty much not a very pleasant month for many people. But I pray that God bring you comfort and mend your broken heart every single day of your life. Some people go back and reflect over and over again and try to come to a complete understanding. But reality is you're human and you're going to always feel these things because you're human. You're going to always have those emotions going through your mind and going through your heart and going through your spirit. And the thing about it is, everyone, you have to really take in consideration that all these things that you're dealing with and facing, it's going to help you bring clarity into your life. And that clarity is going to really show you that when you go through the things that you go through, it's helping you to be more productive. It's helping you to grow further and where you're going to and where you're heading. And when we look at this topic, grief, we try to avoid this conversation. But as we go along, ladies and gentlemen, this conversation can't be prolonged or avoided any longer. Because at the same time, even though you're going through the formality of it, society wants you to be okay, your family wants you to be okay, but in actual reality, are you okay? And 9 times out of 10, you're not okay. Happiness starts within you, and happiness is beginning when you start to identify these points. So for myself, closure and happiness is my go-to. And closure and happiness is a go-to that I'm leaving an example for each and every last one of you all. Being angry because, how would I say it? Being angry is normal. And being angry and sharing your emotions with people is very beneficiary because you really start to understand that by you letting these emotions go, you're starting to build a different type of perspective about it. And what you begin to realize about yourself, that you can survive and manage through these things in your life. Challenges happen all the time, but when you begin to really understand what these scenarios all have at hand, you begin to really realize that you can go on. And most people would think the different about it, but you can go on. But the thing about it is that when you go on, you start to progress a different type of perspective of things that you never really were accustomed to. And the thing about it is, when you start progressing in these things that are at hand, you start working on yourself. The most important part about going through grief is you're working on yourself. And when you work on yourself, everybody, it helps you to understand you and managing you and what you are expecting to come out of this process. And every day is not going to always be happy and go lucky. But as long as you know that you're working through a better stage and a better place in your life, that you can be productive in all things. And being productive takes work. Being able to acknowledge these things takes some a great deal of work. And when you put in that work, you start to really understand that in order for you to take consideration of things that you are feeling, you have to really disconnect from things and really focus on your well being and your outlook on life. And when you look at your outlook on life, ladies and gentlemen, you begin to understand that a lot of things that you're facing and dealing with is going to help you. And you like, what do you mean by that? What I mean is self care. We talk about self care all the time, ladies and gentlemen. We talk about self love, loving and caring for yourself. Who can love you better than you, right? It's important. So why not take that time to just use the resources that you have to just make things more better for yourself in the long run? And the thing about it is, when you begin to really understand what that looks like, you start to have a different perspective of it. And you're like, Pastor Jay, grief is talked about all the time. But our community needs to hear about grief. Our community really needs to really talk about it because we continue to sweep it up under the rug. It's going to continue to be what do you call it, prehistoric story or a prehistoric adventure that okay, somebody passes on, we go back to our normal life. The reality is we have to deal with these things that we are afraid to deal with. And we are afraid to deal with these things because we feel as if we're not able to go forth. And in some scenarios, ladies and gentlemen, some people are not able to go forth. And some people get so engulfed in it that it caused them to stay in that same place. But what I've been taught and what I have done research and therapy and group therapy and different type of things, what I have learned about it, that you can be productive and have a life that you can really enjoy by learning how to manage and cope with your emotions. And how do you cope with your emotions? By identifying the pain that you feel. Don't let anybody, I mean anybody, tell you to stop feeling what you're feeling because people will do that. Okay? Trauma. You have trauma that has happened to you. You feel what you feel, bring it out. You've had sadness, share that. Because not only are you helping yourself through it, you're helping others in the process. When your mind is wondering, there's somebody out there today may need some answers about how to deal with wondering. And those different characteristics are going to really show significant amount of weight and potential and things at hand. And it's going to help you really understand what that looks like in your life. For me, exampling, I find music to be very therapeutical. Worship music, jazz, something that I enjoy. Music. spending time with God, really focusing on the inner part of me. And that has helped me through this process and having support systems around me that rubs me very dearly. And the thing about it is, everybody, when you begin to really start pinpointing these key points that are being shared here on this presentations today, you start looking, okay, what triggers my pain? What triggers my trauma? What triggers my sadness? Why am I wondering? Because all those different components that you are looking at has an important factor that you have to really work on within yourself. And it's a choice. It's a choice. And the choice is up to you, ladies and gentlemen. The choice is up to you to make that decision in which you want to really work on and improve. You know, you can go back and think about memories of things or things that you did that makes you happy. And things that makes you happy, it really brings so much joy and excitement to your life. And that excitement that you're longing for and looking for, it starts within you. And you like, how do you do that? By finding closure. So when you take that time, ladies and gentlemen, to find that closure that you're longing for, you're searching deep within. And that can be the most scariest thing for a lot of folks to really dive into. Most of us will continue to go down the same path, and a lot of us will continue to really stay in that same mindset. And the decision at the end of the day is completely up to you and which way you want this to go. But in order to find happiness, it starts within. In order to find closure, it starts within as well. Because you want those two components to really work together for its good. See, when you start beginning to change your mindset, ladies and gentlemen, you really begin to realize that a lot of things are really molding you. And when you begin to understand the word of molding and creating and putting together, you begin to understand that even though you're going through what you're going through, you never give up on hope. And hope will really bring some very good scenarios about who you are and what you are hoping to get out of this. So, as I talk to you all this morning, I want you to think about some things that's going to really help you get to a better place in your life and help you to really understand what that looks like. For myself, I understand and I know what to do. You have to get to a place, ladies and gentlemen, on have to understand and know what you want to do. And how do you do that? By self evaluating yourself. And what I mean by that is really taking the initiative to really go above and beyond to understand that everybody and everything that you may go through is helping you become a little bit more mindful of how you handle it. You can sit back a lot of times and write down things and really journal things. And journaling is very therapeutical. Okay, I've mentioned it in one of my webinars for grief process before. I once did journaling once upon a time and I kind of got away from it. I did do the dear letter of writing to your loved ones. And what that pretty much does is it's for you. It's for you in terms of really, really dealing with your well being and helping you to bring closure and clarity into your life. That's all journaling and writing that dear letter to your loved ones is all about. It's therapeutical, but it's also part of healing. And when you journal and start writing down your thoughts, it brings the things that you feel on paper to life. And that journal and that dear letter to your loved ones is just expression how you would feel talking to them about what you may be going through. Right? It's good to have celebrations of their favorite meals or their favorite music or their favorite TV shows, and learning that these factors play a tremendous part in their life. And when I tell you that when you go through this process of acknowledging these things, ladies and gentlemen, you really begin to realize that everything that you've been hoping for and seeking for is right in front of your face. But a lot of times when you're so hurt and so in pain and so and you know you're clenching up very effectively, you begin to say, what do I do to change this? By getting by beginning to really say, I want to be happy again. How can I do happiness? What can I do that's different? Start becoming another version of yourself. There was a video on Facebook. There was a young lady, she played in a show on HBO that I watched, and she was speaking about her friend, and her friend's talking about, I'm trying to get back to who I used to be. And she said, that's impossible. You can never be who you used to be because the person you used to be had a parent, which was her dad. So the person you are right now, she was basically saying that you have to get familiar with her and get to know her and understand that the person you are now you, doesn't have a dad in this life, in this stage of their life. So they have to really understand how that transition is completely different. And a lot of us are stuck in that place. Like, I had a husband and I had a wife. Now I'm this new person where I don't have a husband or a wife. I had a mother. Now I no longer have a mother. So now I'm transitioned to this new person. Same thing as a father. You had a father. Now you no longer have a father. You had a child. No, you no longer have a child. How can I be productive now versus when I had them here? It's a transitional period which so many people today struggle with at this very moment. And that transitional factor, knowing in the mind that it's reality. But the thing about it is that heart really burns deep because it really shows that you really are taking the initiative to really focus in on what I have to do to make myself better, what I have to do to improve myself, what can I do to be a different person, what can I change about myself that is completely different now, what do I enjoy doing, what do I need to do. It's about you now, and you had to wrap that around your mind. Memories, all these different things that you share on a day-to-day basis, everybody, it's valid. Your opinions, your emotions, everything is relevant because you know what you want out of life. And you know you want to be happy again. You know you want to be joyful again. But you're stuck in this place where you don't know if you want to go to the left or to the right. And when you begin to really understand these different factors at hand, you begin to really say, I really want to be so much better. I really want to get past this part of my life, but I'm so stuck in this place that I am afraid to go through the unknown. And that unknown place really shows that you had to really deal with it. And dealing with it is probably the most hardest thing for anyone to do. And dealing with situations at hand really goes to show that when you start maneuvering these actions and start moving in different directions in your life. You start to say, I know that I want to be happy. I want to be joyful, but I just can't get past this hurdle. It's just like running a race, or it's just like taking a trip, or it's just like getting on a ship or getting on an airplane. You know you want to do it, but fear steps in the way, that you are afraid. And the fear is that you feel like you're leaving your loved ones behind, but actually, you're not. Honestly, truthfully, they want you to be happy. Honestly, truthfully, they want you to be joyful. Honestly and truthfully, they want you to have joy and excitement and fulfillment in your life. Think about a statement or a phrase they may share to you that they would tell you to do so you don't get to that place. Think about a conversations you may have had with them and how that can help you carry out different tasks as you're facing life's challenges all the time. And how does that make you feel overall dealing with these situations that comes up in your life? Does it bring clarity? Does it bring understanding? Does it bring confirmation? Does it bring things that you really need to address and really work on? And when you begin to really think about the conversation and the advice that someone who's no longer with you gave you, go back and think about those conversations. That wisdom and that knowledge they shared unto you helps you to understand that, hey, you were here. You loved me. I loved you. But you are still with me and letting me know I want you to be happy. I don't want you to be moping around being sad. I don't want you moping around being depressed. I want you to have a productive life. I want you to be vibrant. I want you to be alive. I want you to be well. I want you to be excited about these things. And I want you to know that everything that you're going through and facing, when I was available and here with you, I reminded you time and time again that you're going to be fine. And think about those conversations, ladies and gentlemen. Think about how those conversations went. Think about that certain particular look or that certain particular phrase or that certain particular objective that they shared to you help you to become so productive at where you are right now that you begin to really understand the key factors of where you're going in terms of your healing. I myself can go back and reflect the conversations that I had with my mom and think about the way she would look at me or the way she would point her finger and shake her finger at me and be in disbelief because she know I can be better than that. She know I can go forth to that I shouldn't be wallowing in my sorrow and be in my feelings. She know that I can overcome these things because she has instilled unto me to become that better version of myself. I know that. And again, I know that and I'm aware of that. So, what I'm telling you all here today, ladies and gentlemen, that you are aware of these things, but that complacency keeps you stuck, that you don't want to come out or step in because you are afraid of the unknown. And many of us are afraid of the unknown. When things start changing in your life, you don't know what to expect at that given moment, right? And you're expecting things to go a different way, but it goes a different way. And what I mean is that when you are trying to elevate, you go back and say, oh, I don't think I want to do it because you're not ready yet. So don't push yourself to a place where you're not ready to move forward. You take I should say, baby steps in order to really handle these situations at hand. Understanding what triggers you, understanding what motivates you, understanding what bothers you are certain key factors. When you can identify that, oh, I'm not ready for that, I'm going to push away. I'm going to avoid that because that's not something I want to deal with. You have the permission to do that because you feel what you feel, right? So, as we look at these four categories today, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at pain. What is it that is identified? When we look at trauma, what is being identified there? When we look at sadness, what is being identified? And we're wondering. As our mind wanders, we begin to realize I want something more out of life. I want to be vibrant. I want to be lively. I want to be excited. The question I want to leave you all before we conclude today's session is, what would your loved one want you to do? For me, I know honestly, my mom and those who went on wants me to be truly happy. 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 And have happiness in my life. She will want that for me. And I know that. That's where you start. Ask yourself, what does my loved ones or those who have went on want for my life? And when you continue to rehearse that in your mind, you'll begin to understand that this is what they want from me. They want me to be happy. They don't want me to be sad. They don't want me to be depressed. They don't want me to wallow in sorrow anymore. They want me to understand that I can be able to live a healthy and a fulfilling life. Happiness starts within everybody. It starts within because you really have to know where you want to head and where you want to go to. And that's where it starts at. So, a lot of times, everybody, we begin to really overthink or self examine things a lot of times. Take as much time that you need, ladies and gentlemen, and work on you. That is your goal in this grief relief is to work on you. A lot of times you give people advice of which way, or they give you advice, a scenario. But the thing about it is, are you ready to receive that advice, or you're just going through the motion? Okay. So that concludes today's segment today, everybody. So this is day one. And the thing about it is, everybody, when you begin to really understand these factors at hand, you really begin to know that this is what you want for your life. This is what you really truly want to see. You want to see things really blossom and grow so vibrant that it helps you to really go the extra mile in your life. So, again, I thank you all for tuning in. We'll be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I pray blessings over your life. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed and a productive Monday. Take care.